So, uh, yes, you see me again with the same picture. I gonna explain later why. Anyways, the composer today is very stupid. No, let's understand this. So, in earlier times, the composer was always not only a musician, but he was an educator. Okay, Bach was an educator, Buxtehude was an educator, Gabrieli was an educator. Who else? So everyone. So Philippe de Vitry was an educator, Schoenberg was an educator, Wagner was, I would not say a teacher, but an educator with his texts, love it or hate it. Reicher was a funny composer because he actually was a composer, but in occult mode. He was an educator. So everyone was an educator until when? I don't know. Help me find out. So Hindemith was an educator. Bartok, more or less, I can't say for sure. You can help me, but he was an educator. Of course, I am stupid. See, sometimes we have the information, but we are stupid. This is what the view is about. We are stupid. So Bartok wrote the microcosmos. Okay, he was an excellent educator, by the way, in piano at least. His microcosmos starts annoying, and suddenly it is like really a microcosmos, principally for composers. So everyone was an educator. Then we have suddenly the rise of the uneducated folk musician. And I guess here's the problem. The jazz musicians, we can call them sophisticated folk musicians. And in the jazz tradition, you find the last, let's say, musician and educator paradigm. Composer, musician, educator. I mean, as a whole, as a as an ethos, okay, as a moral of community. So statistically speaking, I doubt that Scott Joplin was not an educator, that Oscar Peterson perhaps. The singers I know, I don't know. So Ella Fitzgerald, was she an educator? Was she a teacher? I don't know. Mahalia Jackson, I don't know. But Chick Corea, he was trying to teach on his channel. Okay, this Steve Vai likes to teach, but we will talk about this. So this is it is more or less the jazz tradition. Also, I think when the Rick Beato teaches, I would say he's in the jazz tradition, or somehow linked to it. Now, then we start to have the rock guys. So I don't know about anyone from Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Rainbow teaching or being an educator, or The Who, Rolling Stones starting earlier. So in this first, so the first rock, so of course Elvis Presley. So this first very root, very root type of beginning of the rock tradition. Then I would say there things start to die, okay, and then you have the first ramifications for the pop music. That, by the way, were awesome in the 60s. So when you sing Monday, Monday, so fascinating arrangements, very melodic, very beautiful, with the best of the romantic harmony of Beethoven, Schubert. So then things start to go south. Okay, so now we are living in a change of times. So the first idea was this: so to understand to have some broader idea of what happens with the paradigm of music, composer, educator. Now the second idea is this: so we are changing our paradigm. So it's not like a change of mood from the 70s to 18s, from the 18s to 19s, okay, from the 90s to 2000s. It is a shift of paradigm, and many people agree from the 2000 to 2010 was the last change of mood, last shift of decade. Now we have every 1 year or every 2 years a type of shift, but it also isn't. It's like a plateau. It's like a flat situation where in some changes, in some aspects it's nothing new, but in other aspects everything is new. So AI, of course, AI is the new switch of ages, not of decades. It's a switch of age. This is like Bilderberg, Gutenberg, not Bilderberg. Bilderberg was another video. Watch the older video. So Gutenberg. Okay, so it is like the change from myth to philosophy in the work of Plato. It's this type of shift, okay, of historical shift. So it's like the shift from oral tradition to written tradition. In the times of Homer and Hesiod, the written like we have, or from the oral from written. The first signs is before the Sumerians and Mesopotamian, and then after, when you have the Akkadian Empire. No, tell me if I am wrong, because I have to practice music all day, so I am not an archaeologist. But you can see here in the screen, see the, I don't know if my mouse is showing. By the way, this would be a very good idea that you can see my mouse. But see, there in the image, here in the picture that you are seeing, there at the end, so you see the pyramids. Okay. So then behind the pyramids, if we follow the logic of this picture, then you find the first big shift. So from oral tradition to written tradition. The written tradition was with signs, with so the on tablets, on clay tablets. It was written the knowledge in Mesopotamia. Okay, so this was before Egypt, and this we discovered still in this last century. Okay, this was happening at the same time that you had the first records of the Elvis Presley. Okay, so people were trying to understand these writings of Mesopotamia, and also to discover that the history of music goes beyond the Greek and the Egyptian tradition. So this is the type of shift that we have. And in this context, we can now understand the third idea of this video. So the first, to understand the paradigm of composer, educator that we lost. The second, to understand what is happening, more or less. Now, the third idea here. The third idea is that you, the composer of this generation, so if you come from the time that yes, so for example, you are young and you still experience the idea of going to classical music concerts because this was more appealing than to download music on internet, perhaps. I don't know. Things change so much that even these people, they are already very old. But let's say you come from this era, or at least you come from the era where from the, I don't know, the decadence of the live musician was still not so high. You still have the dream theater who is able to play their own music live in the concert. Okay, so you came from this generation who still find this interesting, or you came from the generation where you watched some awesome pianists live that were not like a showman narcissist like this Lang Lang, or the sexualizing the Wang there, the older girl there. So you are not a clown of the stage, and you are also not a slut. So let's say you still perceive the world in this way. You still perceive the value of you still perceive the value of not only learning the Beethoven sonata at the piano, but to using this to communicate a good living and what it means to be an educated soul. Okay, so if you come from this generation, you are in the last generation. Okay, so you are in the last generation of a whole paradigm. And you, all those that didn't experience this, so the people who didn't experience what does it mean to buy an album and hear it and listen to this album only because this is the only thing that you have to listen, because there is no other distraction to fill your annoying time. So even if you didn't experience these things, you are also the last generation. So now I'm speaking to people with 20 years old, perhaps. You are the last generation that has contact with the people that also come from this last paradigm. Okay? You are also the last generation that still had some type of contact with the uncontrolled internet. Or let's say the less controlled internet. You are the last generation that had the marvelous opportunity of walking through internet without this invasion of AI slope and a high level of pseudo-intellectualism, high level of narcissist attention seeking, high level of algorithmic optimization, and all the possible desiderates and residuum from a decadent culture that is living and creating place to be filled by a new paradigm that is trying to impose itself. Now the question is how you want this new paradigm to be. It can be in this way or that way. And here's your power to change this. So now you are the last generation to have contact with a high level of hope, because now every year that comes brings a new attack on hope. So for example, books are being changed. Do you know about this? So the guy wrote there something. So look at the pyramid of the picture. He wrote something that is common copyright, so it is common open public domain. And then now people come and change the word because it might offended this guy here, the first one of the picture, but not him, because he's the Bruce Dixon. I think the Bruce Dixon is not so weak to get offended by word. I said Aristotle, the word dog does not bite you. But philosophy is complicated, so St. Augustine would comment and say, perhaps it doesn't bite you, but you feel like being bitten, no? So, by the word, being bitten by the word. So, this is just one example, but you can mention many others. So here my task is not to give an overview of the facts going on. So this is, you can do if you are the happy man to find a reliable news source, because if you are in London or America, you won't find even on TV or even on the opposing source of information of the conservative sides, because you are in the middle of the war. So in the war, it's hard to find truth, because both sides we need to exaggerate things. So you don't have the center anymore. Principally, if you are in this critical place, and who is not in a critical place to some extent. So these are the facts. So you are losing the hope. You are losing the conditions to give hope. You are losing the conditions to trade the tradition. So then we are living the risk of losing the link to tradition. Okay, so this is what is the video about. Actually, the video is about many things. Perhaps I should have started with this sentence as well. So we are losing we might lose the link to tradition. Okay, so we are on the risk to lose the link to tradition. One reason is because history is being rewritten. People are trying to do this. Now that we have the whole history on internet, okay, it's everything data, then it is easier to control and to write this again, okay, or to reframe it again. Do you understand? And the second thing I would like to say is this example. So we had the Library of Alexandria. So look at the pyramid there. So this is our past. So after we had this flourishing of Greek culture, so Aristotle, so Plato, etc., then it was a new era where we had like a huge amount of knowledge written, and it was conceived and kept by this Library of Alexandria in Egypt. So the official language of the library at that time, if I remember, it was Greek still, and this is the intersection between the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire, this transition. So at a given point in time, we lost almost everything. So it was burned. You can also help me to research this, but I think exactly in this occasion, almost all the books of Aristophanes, that is the one of the most important music theorists of the ancient Greece, next to Pythagoras, so we lost many books that he wrote. So this insane guy wrote more than 400 books. It's insane. Probably not only about music, I suppose. So he was a student of Aristotle. So perhaps he was employing the Aristotelic method to inquire about other things. And these books, they are about many different things. So, and then we only have one full text and another important fragment. And the third thing, we have quoted texts in other source, in other books like Ptolemy, so Aristides, Quintilianus, Boethius. So there's people who did in the early centuries of the Roman Empire the task that I'm inviting you to do now, to some extent. Not exactly in the quality as they did, but it is in the same form in nature. So these people, they perceived that the whole knowledge of the old ancient era was being lost, and they ran to keep this knowledge alive. One of them was the Boethius. Okay, the Boethius did one of the most fascinating intellectual enterprise ever done in the Western history. Okay, in the Western history, exactly. I repeat this a lot. So, not in the history of my beloved Amazonia, in my country, okay? Not in Australia. Okay, so this citizen he did one of the most fascinating things. What he did, he translated everything that he could. So this is a lifetime project. He translated almost everything that he could find from the ancient Greek civilization. And similar people like him were engaged in similar activities. Okay, so this was one chapter. The second chapter, that is a similar project, was the Renaissance. So some type of people understand and feel the shift of time, and then they understand the importance of what has been said before them. It's not that it's everything true. It is that it is important. So it is the acknowledgement of this basic fact, which is my memory. And without memory, I don't have identity. Okay? So it's about this fact. And never in history this has been so much attacked in a strategic and evil and intended manner, so with intention, than now. So since we start this positivist era and this Marxist era with the Karl Marx, so we created a new consciousness about history that allowed some intellectuals to entertain this idea of reframing history and rewriting history. Is not about a new interpretation of history as the Gadamer wanted with the hermeneutic method. It's not about this. And it is not a philosophy of history as Hegel wanted. It is the concept of being active towards elements of history, intellectual elements of our history, and active in an ideological sense, so in the sense of wanting social change. So the difference is, I want a social change, and then I will reframe history based on my wish of a certain social change that is grounded in my wish of my collective preference, of my group, of my small group, by the way. Okay, so I have a small group with some preference, and then this is my premise, and then from there I try to draw a conclusion based on my wishes, and then I subordinate the tradition and the old data, and I reframe this in order to fit to my needs of my time. Okay, so this is the typical type of revolutionary thinking. The difference to this is another type of thing. So I try to look objectively to the facts and data so much as I can. I also do interpretation, and I recognize the ambiguity of the past. But I see this as the first thing. So my premise comes from here. So the start of my arguments start from here, and then from there I adequate my contemporary wishes, my contemporary political and cultural wishes. Do you understand the difference? Even if I am wrong in the first step, what is very possible, and if you consider Gadamer, it will be always almost wrong, because you can't always figure out what has been written. Okay, it is always a problem, so that he calls the hermeneutic circle. So it is always it is something that never ends. Okay, just to keep it here short and to not go into the discussion of what the dialectic means, etc. So it is always an enigma, the history. Okay, but this is also good for us. Important is the framework of understanding that is an enigma, but that this has a priority over our circumstantial, idiosyncratic wishes of our small collective and political preference. Okay, so the case of Boethius trying to save the antiquity with his intellectual activity was repeated to some extent later in some cases in the history. But after Marx, what happens is we do the contrary. It is like the perhaps I risk to throw a very basic meme here. So in this sense, so Boethius is one thing, and the Marx and August Comte, the positivism, is like the contrary. Okay, because they start up the presentism, and the presentism is the best. Let's say it makes the perfect ground and condition to create the paradigm shift towards futurism, and the AI is one of the most perfect agents for this. And now we have a new brother of AI, and this is this cyberlink utopia of the cybernetics of creating the integration between man and machine, with the excuse that this is good for medicine. So, and I truly think that for medicine it is awesome. But since these people are proven to not have morals and ethics and honor, and in their words, it will be used for egoistic needs as well. So then we are in the paradigm shift, and then your task now is to understand that you are in the last generation that can trade the past into the future. Okay, so this is the message of the video. So you are, in my opinion, not only a composer and a musician, I think you should be, but you are also to some extent an educator. Okay, so we started the video with remember the role of the composer as an educator. Then we spoke about what is happening, understand that which type of shift we are living. Then I gave now the example of the Boethius as a savior of the past, so to say. And now I am relating this to you in a concrete situation. So not only musician and composer, but also educator. So actually this is one of the most forgotten things. So the composers today, they don't see themselves as future educator. And this is one of my most important arguments against the cultism of music theoretical ignorance or compositional ignorance and musical ignorance. It is not only about the fact that it works for you with your mock-up and new automatic orchestrator. It's not about this. It is about what do you have to teach. to the next generation. Do you understand? So it is also, if I consider myself only as a composer, I would not care for some details about music. Do you understand? But these details might be exactly what is important for the next generation. So, for example, it is like everyone. So you should offer the cake as a whole, and then you can eat this part of the cake or that part of the cake, but offer the whole cake. Okay, so you prefer this part, you prefer that part. Imagine a cake with different tastes. And then the task of the education is to offer this cake. Also not the whole cake shop, but you offer a cake with different tastes. The next generation will take this part of the cake or the other part of the cake. So I learned some things that I use as a composer, and I could be like, okay, that's all. But actually, it's not like this. I learned also some other things that they even distract me as a composer. To be honest, they are not always in my daily job. Okay? But it's important that I trade them to the next generation, because perhaps the next student will see this as his main line of work. So I still teach the student so much as I can to write on the paper without piano. I don't focus only on this. Okay, but when it comes to ear training lesson, this is our ideal. This is our dream. Okay. So the final goal of my ear training lesson is that you write a viola sonata on the train 1 hour before the concert, as Hindemith did. Okay, so this is the final dream. So, but am I doing like this? No. Me as a composer, no. Do you understand what I'm talking about? But I try to give a cake with different tastes. Okay? In different recepts that were created by my ancestors. So, and I can't offer the whole cake shop. The whole cake shop, you should go to the library or to another teacher to complement. So when you learn now composition, when you practice your musicianship, you are not only doing this for yourself, but to trade the tradition, to pass the tradition to the next generation. And do you have the duty to do this? I think yes, you have. You have the moral duty to do this, because everything that you do now, so this MIDI keyboard, the piano, the fact that piano has white and black keys, everything that you did, you do thanks to the tradition. You created fucking nothing. You just you take everything for granted. So everything that is there, we as past human beings did this for you. Do you understand? We went through pain, we went through effort, we cried, we celebrated to give this resource for you. Okay? So then you have, let's say, you have the duty of reverence. Okay? When you write the hair of a beautiful melody, like, and I am almost sure that statistically you can't even write something beautiful, a beautiful melody today, a true beautiful melody. But when you, let's say you write 10% of what a true impactful melody is, okay, when you do this 10%, this is due to the fact that many before you wrote a beautiful melody. So let's say a beautiful melody like a love song. This is due to the fact that many people broke their hearts and had even the musical skill and the harmony skill to bring this melody in the best way possible. Without harmony, it would be not possible to convey the emotion. They did this very well, and then now you are impacted by this, and this is why you create music, and so on. The power of music in itself. So if people recognize music as a thing, it is because many composers worked for this, to raise the power and level of music, to even raise the function and the way that you see music. So in the Renaissance, music was at the end of Renaissance, music was about expressing the text, and then with Schumann and Liszt, no, it's not about expressing the text, it's about expressing my experience of the infinite of nature, and so on. And then later, after Wagner, so Hugo Wolf is my experience of the mythic origin of the mankind, and so on. So we as composers, we always changed what it means to be a composer, what it means to do music, and what music actually means. So we are the highest authority in matters of music, because we determine what music is in the moment that we write a C major and a G major, or a C major and an E flat major, and then we trigger emotion in people. We are the active, they are the passive, and we have the responsibility. So, and people have to recognize our responsibility as composers also today. This is another problem. And to some extent, they expect us to do this. They expect this. People are expecting something from us. So you see people criticizing the music nowadays, no? They expect something from us, and with a good reason. So with the new AI cybernetic paradigm, everything is going to change so fast. It is so crazy that you can't believe. So in many aspects, there are many videos about this. You can study different aspects of the changes that are being made. For example, now if you write on Google Docs, there is the AI, the fucking AI assistant. And this is good and bad. It is bad because now I'm writing my philosophy of music, and this is a lifetime project. I don't know if it will be ready, and I don't care. So, but I work on this project. From time to time, I work more and more. So I work on this project, but I am now writing on Google Docs. Then a moron, 10 years after, will say, easy, he wrote with the AI. This is just a summary of the main faults in philosophy of music. No, it's not this. It is a lifetime work. It was my walks on the beach in Brazil as I was 20 years old. It was all my failures. It was my experience as a pianist, as a failed concert pianist, because I wanted to play actually better than I play. But still, I work as a professional pianist in Salzburg, no? But But when I see now the great Alfred Brendel, so I am amazed by him, and I feel like really like a failure. So I thought about all those things, and so the Hamelin as well. So the Hamelin is insane, the guy. So the guy who made Alkan, a known composer, and he's an example of an educator. So the Hamelin played Alkan. He did not the artistic function. He did the function of education, of paideia. So he's inseminating culture. In culture, he is inseminating culture back to culture. So all this life experience. So the books that I read that are useless, the insane, annoying texts that I had perhaps to even skip about music, and so the mathematic side of music I don't like. I find important, but I am not talented for mathematics. So everything, and then to make this tasty juice that are my notes, my thoughts, my aphorisms, my YouTube videos, my scriptum, my teachings at the conservatory that try to convey some thoughts in philosophy of music. So everything that is there, in 5 years, someone can come and see this. Okay, but not, or artificial intelligence is not so is so awesome that yes, so I also can do a philosophy of music looking like this. Okay, I can also create a text that looks like this, because everything's about looks and appearance, what is something actually very demoniac. So when the appearance is taken as a substance, this is demoniac. Art is not demoniac when it is about appearance. Art is about appearance, more or less. It's about sensation, it's about what appears there, but it is the appearing of the substance. It is appearing of the idea. It is appearing of what is actually real. Do you understand the difference? It's the manifestation of the depth, the symbolic depth of what is real. And the symbolic depth, you can never saturate, it can never extinguish. And then art try to convey this depth. So for example, the painting Night Hawks of the Edward Hopper. I had a book of him that I bought in a second-hand shop. I don't know, as I was 19 years old. So I saw this picture, and his work influenced me a lot. I don't know how, but somehow. So I like it very much. Then some people say this picture is about loneliness. Yes and no. But the loneliness is still one aspect of the symbolic depth of the reality of the loneliness is just an aspect of the symbolic depth of the reality that he experienced as this specific artist that he is. So losing the link to tradition means to lose all the attempts of mankind trying to express this symbolic depth, and the composers they were the most important tools to do this. Okay, they were the most important tools to do this, and I believe in a musical development. So you can tell me that we should go back to the music where only fifths and fourths are allowed. Okay, It's always a development. Now we want the thirds, and now Vincenzo Galilei wants more dissonance, and now this, and now this, and now the figuration, and now the 5-part counterpoint with underlying harmony of Bach, and now and so on, and now we want sudden shift of mood, and now we want unapologetic loudness. So this is development. Okay, so there is no way that you're gonna bring me back to your radical conservatism of museum, of partimento fundamentalism. Now, many elements of these traditions, they are important to keep. Partimento is also one of them. I teach with partimento, but not only. I focus also on the harmonization. So so let's say, how can I call this? Choral partimentos. Perhaps this would be the English translation. So I also keep these elements. So with this video now you have a good picture of what I invite you to do and to understand, is to understand the paradigm shift that is more radical than you think, to understand the responsibility that you have regarding the content, the ideas that were traded for you, and thanks to which you are allowed to be this composer now. Okay? But I have already my professional career. I have many gigs, more than you, Emanuel. So congratulations for you. But now understand your function as an educator and think about the either paradigm where the composer was the composer, the musician, and the educator to some extent. Okay, and perhaps it is the time to stop thinking and stop obsessing about marketing yourself as a composer, posting every day on Instagram as a materialistic, narcissistic moron. Okay, so we think the whole time about how to make an income as a composer, but we never think the amount of income that you can do as a teacher. It is so stupid. So they prefer to upload the same stupid beat on Pond 5,000 times and be proud that they have more than me, than my 400, where I don't repeat the tracks that I uploaded there. And all my tracks, they are experiments in music theory and mockup. So actually the highest purpose was another one. And then I uploaded on Pond 5, and then I earned money. So they preferred to obsess about this word of the so-called audio entrepreneur than to fucking stop and invest 60 euros in a fucking piano lesson to learn how to play an harmonic sequence, how to harmonize Happy Birthday to you in a different way. How does the whole tone scale combine with the half diminished chord, which is the relation between the leading mode and the whole tone scale, which is the relationship between the diminished seventh chord and the octatonic scale, and how can I actually eloquently develop some fragmental ideas on the keyboard. And which are the classic resource and texts that allows me to classify and organize this knowledge in some way that I can teach another person. Because if I can play, improvise, this is also not enough. If my ear is perfect, it is not enough to teach another person. To teach another person, you need the language, you need the concepts, you need to learn how to articulate them and how to take logical conclusions so that the student has a experience of meaning, not experience of chaos, and that he is amazed by the beauty and power of music, so that he runs to home wanting to try things and to expand things, because he understands that this amusement is the source of musical inspiration of a higher quality. Okay, so this is what is my message here is about. I might come back to annoy you with the same idea. Now you understand why is this picture there the whole time. This is one of the reasons. Because it comprehends the panoramic vision that I want that you have. So we have the pyramids there at the end, and the death is in the start, actually. So in the start is at the end. So see there the background of the picture. Then we have the death. The death is already in the start of history. So the problem of death, no? Because actually this was the main problem for the Egyptian people, no? And the ancient folks. So the art was about death. I want to speak about this later. So then you have an idea of development, and then you have here the guys of the Iron Maiden, and then you have the Eddie. The Eddie is the cybernetic element here is the most futuristic element that is at the same time a symbol of fear and danger and evil. So there are people who are cultists of the Eddie. I know, because he's the mascot of the Iron Maiden. But I also don't like this, because always he was the element of mystery, of fear, the unknown. And here this element is mixed with the idea of unmeasured, uncontrolled futurisms, and this is the danger in which we are in. So that's all. Perhaps I will attach also my rescore of the end titles for Blade Runner, that I recognize it's not the best mix. I was still having I was having some issues at that time, and it's more about the composition. Don't imitate what I do. So I don't. It's not the type of audio quality that I would bring today, but focus on the composition. So see you later. Ciao ciao. Have a great weekend.